Now, I know that these words may fall hard upon your ears. In a world that glorifies connection, that praises togetherness, and that seems to equate solitude with loneliness, the idea of finding happiness in our own company may seem foreign, even frightening. But I say to you today that it is in embracing our solitude that we find the key to unlock the deepest reservoirs of our strength, our creativity, and yes, our happiness. Let us not shy away from this truth, for in confronting it, we open ourselves to a world of possibility, a realm of personal growth that knows no bounds. The journey to finding happiness alone is not an easy one. It is a path fraught with challenges, lined with the thorny brambles of self-doubt and societal expectations. But it is also a path that leads to the very summit of self-realization, to the pinnacle of personal fulfillment. Think, if you will, of a mighty oak tree standing tall in a vast field. Does it not grow strong and majestic in its solitude? Does it not reach for the sky, spreading its branches wide, nourished by its own deep roots? So too must we learn to stand tall in our aloneness, to reach for the heights of our potential, nourished by the deep roots of our own self-worth. But let me be clear, my friends. When I speak of being happy alone, I do not speak of isolation or withdrawal from society. I do not advocate for a life of hermetic seclusion or cold detachment from our fellow human beings. No, the solitude I speak of is an inner state, a condition of the heart and mind that allows us to be at peace with ourselves, to find contentment and joy in our own company, regardless of our external circumstances. This kind of solitude, this inner aloneness, is not something to be feared or avoided. It is a skill to be learned, a muscle to be exercised, a garden to be tended. And like any skill, it requires practice, patience, and perseverance to master. I say to you today, my brothers and sisters, that learning to be happy alone is not just a personal indulgence, but a necessary step in our growth as individuals and as a society. For it is only when we are truly comfortable with ourselves, when we can find joy and fulfillment in our own company, that we can truly connect with others in meaningful and authentic ways. Consider, if you will, the great figures of history who have changed the world. Did they not all possess a certain comfort with solitude? Did they not all have the ability to stand firm in their convictions even when standing alone? It was their inner strength, their self-reliance, their ability to find peace and purpose within themselves that allowed them to weather the storms of opposition and bring about lasting change. Take, for example, the life of Mahatma Gandhi. In the face of overwhelming odds, often isolated and alone, he found the strength to lead a nation to independence through nonviolent resistance. His power came not from external validation or constant companionship, but from a deep well of inner peace and conviction. Or consider the life of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 long years in prison, much of it in solitary confinement. Did he allow the isolation to break his spirit? He used that time of solitude to deepen his resolve, to strengthen his character, to prepare himself for the monumental task of leading his nation out of the shadows of apartheid. These examples, my friends, show us that the ability to be happy alone, to find strength and purpose in solitude, is not a weakness but a profound source of power. They teach us that our happiness, our worth, our very sense of self should not be dependent on the presence or approval of others. But I hear some of you saying, but Reverend, we are social creatures. Isn't it natural to seek happiness in the company of others? To you I say this, yes, we are indeed social beings, and there is great joy to be found in human connection. But true connection, meaningful relationships, can only be built on a foundation of self-awareness and self-acceptance. And these qualities, my friends, are cultivated in the quiet moments of solitude. Think of a symphony orchestra. Each musician must first master their individual instrument, spending countless hours in solitary practice before they can come together to create beautiful music as an ensemble. So too must we master the instrument of our own being. Learn to play the music of our own hearts before we can truly harmonize with others. But let me be clear, my brothers and sisters. When I say that we must learn to be happy alone, I do not mean that we should be content with loneliness or isolation. There is a profound difference between being alone and being lonely. Loneliness is a painful state of perceived isolation, a feeling of disconnection from others. Being happily alone, on the other hand, is a state of comfortable solitude, a peaceful acceptance of one's own company. The journey from loneliness to comfortable solitude is not an easy one. It requires us to confront our fears, to examine our beliefs about ourselves and our place in the world. It demands that we learn to silence the critical voices in our heads, the ones that tell us we are not enough on our own, that we need others to complete us. This journey begins with self-acceptance. We must learn to embrace all aspects of ourselves, our strengths and our weaknesses, our virtues and our flaws. We must recognize that we are worthy of love and respect, not because of what others think of us or what we can do for them, but simply because we exist. As we cultivate this self-acceptance, we begin to discover the richness of our inner world. We find that we are not empty vessels waiting to be filled by others, but vast universes of thought, emotion, and creativity. We realize that in our solitude, we have the freedom to explore the depths of our being, to nurture our passions, to pursue our dreams without fear of judgment or the need for constant approval. But I hear some of you asking, how do we begin this journey? How do we learn to be happy alone in a world that seems to demand constant connection? These are valid questions, my friends, and they bring us to the heart of our discussion today. The first step on this path is to recognize the value of solitude. We must shift our perspective, seeing time alone not as something to be avoided or endured, but as a precious gift to be cherished. In our fast-paced, always connected world, moments of true solitude are rare and valuable. They are opportunities for reflection, for self-discovery, for personal growth. Once we recognize the value of solitude, we must make space for it in our lives. This may mean setting boundaries with others, carving out time in our busy schedules for quiet reflection, or simply learning to turn off our devices and be present with ourselves. It means resisting the urge to fill every moment with noise and distraction, and instead allowing ourselves to sit with our thoughts, to feel our emotions, to simply be. As we create this space for solitude, we may at first feel uncomfortable. We may encounter feelings of anxiety, boredom, or restlessness. This is natural, my friends. We have been conditioned to seek constant stimulation, constant connection. But I urge you, do not run from these feelings. Sit with them, examine them, for it is in facing these uncomfortable emotions that we begin to understand ourselves more deeply. In time, as we practice being alone, we begin to discover the joys of solitude. We find that we can be our own best company, that we can entertain ourselves, comfort ourselves, inspire ourselves. We discover hidden talents, forgotten passions, and new interests. We learn to enjoy our own thoughts, to appreciate our own unique perspective on the world. But this journey is not just about finding personal contentment. Learning to be happy alone has profound implications for our relationships with others and our engagement with the world. When we are comfortable in our own company, we no longer approach relationships from a place of need or desperation. We don't seek others to fill a void within us, but to share in the fullness of who we are. This shift transforms our interactions. We become more authentic, more genuine in our connections. We are able to give and receive love more freely without the fear of losing ourselves in another person. We can stand firm in our convictions even when they differ from those around us, because our sense of self is not dependent on the approval of others. Moreover, when we learn to be happy alone, we become more resilient in the face of life's challenges. We develop an inner strength that allows us to weather the storms of adversity, to face our fears with courage, to persist in the pursuit of our goals even when the path is difficult and lonely. Think of the great explorers throughout history. Did they not have to be comfortable with solitude to venture into uncharted territories? Did they not have to find strength and purpose within themselves to persevere in the face of the unknown? So too must we become explorers of our inner landscapes, venturing into the uncharted territories of our minds and hearts, finding strength and purpose within ourselves. But I want to be clear, my friends, learning to be happy alone does not mean we should reject human connection or isolate ourselves from society. On the contrary, it is through our comfort with solitude that we become better equipped to engage meaningfully with others and with the world around us. When we are at peace with ourselves, we can approach others with openness and genuine curiosity. We can listen more deeply and empathize more fully, love more unconditionally. We can contribute to our communities and to society at large from a place of inner strength and authentic purpose, rather than from a need for external validation or a desire to fill an inner void. Consider the life of Mother Teresa. Her strength came not from constant companionship or external validation, but from a deep well of inner peace and purpose. It was her comfort with solitude, her ability to find joy and meaning in her own company, that allowed her to give so selflessly to others, to touch countless lives with her compassion and love. Or think of the great artists throughout history, the painters, writers, musicians, who have touched our hearts and expanded our minds. Did they not often work in solitude, drawing inspiration from the depths of their own being? It was their ability to be alone with their thoughts, to listen to the whispers of their own souls, that allowed them to create works of profound beauty and meaning. These examples show us that learning to be happy alone is not a selfish pursuit. It is, in fact, a necessary step in our growth as individuals and as a society. For it is only when we are truly comfortable with ourselves that we can offer our best to the world. But how do we cultivate this ability to be happy alone? How do we nurture this inner strength and self-reliance? It begins, my friends, with self-awareness. We must learn to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, to understand our own patterns of behavior, our fears, our desires. This self-awareness is the foundation upon which we build our capacity for solitude. As we develop this self-awareness, we must also practice self-compassion. We must learn to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a dear friend. This means letting go of self-criticism and negative self-talk, and instead embracing an attitude of gentle acceptance towards ourselves. Alongside self-awareness and self-compassion, we must cultivate our interests and passions. When we engage in activities that bring us joy and fulfillment, we discover that we can be excellent company for ourselves. Whether it's reading a good book, creating art, pursuing a hobby, or simply enjoying the beauty of nature, these activities connect us with our inner selves and bring richness to our solitude. But let me be clear, this journey of learning to be happy alone is not always easy. There will be moments of doubt, times when the silence feels oppressive rather than peaceful, days when we long for the distraction of constant companionship. In these moments, we must remind ourselves that discomfort is often a sign of growth, that the path to self-discovery is not always smooth. We must also remember that learning to be happy alone is a lifelong journey, not a destination. It is a skill that we continually refine, a practice that we return to again and again throughout our lives. There will be times when we feel we have mastered it, and times when we struggle. This is natural, my friends. The key is to approach this journey with patience, persistence, and self-compassion. As we walk this path, we may find that our relationships with others begin to change. Some people in our lives may not understand our need for solitude, may feel threatened by our growing self-reliance. We may need to renegotiate boundaries, to explain our need for alone time. This too is part of the journey, an opportunity for growth and deeper understanding in our relationships. But I promise you, sisters, as you learn to be happy alone, as you cultivate this inner strength and self-reliance, you will discover a freedom that you never knew existed. You will find that you are no longer at the mercy of others' opinions or approval. You will realize that you carry within you everything you need to be happy, fulfilled, and at peace. This realization is transformative. It allows us to move through the world with confidence and grace. It enables us to stand firm in our convictions, even when we stand alone. It empowers us to pursue our dreams, to speak our truths, to live authentically, without fear of rejection or abandonment. Moreover, this ability to be happy alone becomes a wellspring of strength that nourishes not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us. When we are at peace with ourselves, we radiate that peace to others. When we are comfortable in our own company, we can offer genuine presence and attention to those we interact with. When we are self-reliant, we can support others from a place of abundance rather than need. But I hear some of you saying, Reverend, in a world that often equates being alone with being lonely, how do we resist the pressure to constantly seek company? This is a crucial question, my friends, for indeed our society often views solitude with suspicion, equating it with isolation or social failure. We must be brave enough to challenge these societal norms. We must have the courage to embrace our solitude, to celebrate our ability to be happy alone, even when others may not understand. We must remember that true strength, true self-worth comes not from constant external validation, but from a deep, unshakable sense of our own value. This does not mean we should reject social connection or isolate ourselves from our communities. Rather, it means approaching our social interactions from a place of choice rather than need. It means recognizing that we can enjoy the company of others while also valuing and protecting our time alone. As we learn to be happy alone, we may find that the quality of our social interactions improves. We become more discerning about who we spend our time with, choosing relationships that truly enrich our lives rather than those that merely fill time or meet societal expectations. We become better friends, better partners, better community members because we are no longer looking to others to fulfill needs that we can meet ourselves. But let us not forget, my friends, that this journey of learning to be happy alone is not just about personal fulfillment. It has profound implications for our society as a whole. In a world that often seems divided, where people cling to tribal identities and fear those who are different, the ability to be comfortable with ourselves is more important than ever. When we are at peace with our own company, we are less likely to seek validation through group membership or the rejection of others. We are more able to approach those who are different from us with curiosity and openness rather than fear or hostility. We can engage in dialogue, build bridges across divides, and work towards a more just and compassionate society. Moreover, in a world facing unprecedented challenges, from climate change to social inequality, we need individuals who are capable of independent thought, who can stand firm in their convictions even when they are in the minority. The ability to be happy alone, to find strength and purpose within ourselves, is crucial for those who would be agents of change in our world. So I call upon you today, my brothers and sisters, to embark on this journey of learning to be happy alone. I challenge you to embrace your solitude, to cultivate your inner strength, to discover the joy and fulfillment that can be found in your own company. This journey may not be easy. There will be times when you feel lonely, when you doubt yourself, when the silence seems overwhelming. But I urge you, do not give up. For on the other side of these challenges lies a freedom and a strength that will transform not just your own life, but the lives of those around you and the world at large. Remember, you are not alone. In this journey, even as you learn to be happy in your solitude, you are part of a community of seekers, of individuals striving for personal growth and self-realization. Draw strength from this knowledge. Share your experiences with others. Offer support to those who are struggling on this path. And as you walk this path, remember this is not determined by your relationship status, your social circle, or your popularity. Your worth is inherent, immeasurable, and unconditional. You are worthy of love, respect, and happiness simply because you exist. So go forth from this place with renewed determination. Embrace your solitude. Nurture your inner strength. Learn to be happy alone. For in doing so, you not only transform your own life, but you become a beacon of strength and authenticity in a world that desperately needs it.